What's up, my comic comrades? DC has been quite busy lately between the introduction of their Absolute Universe, the ongoing All-In Initiative, and dropping the first looks at the upcoming Superman movie, which looks pretty fun so far, by the way. But part of their All-In Initiative is the return and expansion of the Justice League with the new Justice League Unlimited title. And today we're returning to the book to break down issues 2 and 3. In the first issue, we learn that the League has expanded their ranks, letting almost every hero in the DC universe be a member, enabling them to always be able to answer the call of planetary or universal threats. Now, last we left off, a new super terrorist group had arisen named Inferno and basically promised to destroy all humanity. Simultaneously, weird creatures popped up in Costa Rica, so Batman and Blue Beetle went to check it out, and when they did, they stumbled upon a bunch of alien eggs. Oh, and how could I forget, a mole named Airwave has infiltrated the Justice League. He's a new recruit who could control airwaves. The last page of issue 1 reveals he's there to kill the Justice League and apparently feels bad about it since they've all been so nice and welcoming to him. Anyway, that's your recap of issue 1. If you want to know everything that went down in great detail, watch our video on it right here. But with that said, let's jump into issue 2. Issue 2 starts off in Costa Rica, as we see Blue Beetle injured and being dragged into the forest by the creatures he and Batman found as he screams, "Batman, help me!" We are then taken to a sidewalk in Costa Rica where police tell a few young people to please go home because curfew is in effect. One of the girls responds, "Right, is this about your monsters?" The other girl then jumps in and says, "Oh, scary boogeymen fly the night skies. Haha, come on, man." And just like in a horror movie, the character mocking someone about a monster gets attacked, and we see one of the monsters snatch her and take her into the sky. But at that very moment, the Justice League arrives via a boom tube with Superman saying, "Parademons, Justice League attack," finally confirming what these monsters are. They're Darkseid's unarmored parademons, which is why they look different. Dr. Occult, who looks like Dick Tracy in this, by the way, says, "You people really hit the ground running, don't you? What are parademons?" Superman replies, "Darkseid shock troopers, mindless and frenetic." Martian Manhunter says, "Impossible, who could be controlling them? Darkseid has been annihilated," which we saw in the DC All-In special. Mary Marvel says, "This isn't an organized militia, they're berserkers. Don't overthink this." As one starts to attack a police officer, Batman throws an exploding batarang at it, stopping it. As we see on the next page, Batman is bloody and torn, with Superman asking Batman, "What happened to you?" He responds, "An attack like this, but in a smaller space. Beetle and I found a nest inside the forest, a cache of alien eggs, hatching nightmares. I lost consciousness. When I woke, Beetle was gone." But that's not the worst of it, Superman. The locals swear they've been stealing kids. Wonder Woman, "The nest is a mile that way. You and Mary shut it down. Superman, Black Lightning, and Star Sapphire, we stay here. Manhunter, Dr. Occult, go find those kids." Martian Manhunter says, "The townspeople need protection." Batman tells him, "You have telepathy, and we're searching for children. Go." Elsewhere in Singapore, we see a very large man being confronted by police. The police are saying, "Identify yourself and surrender. We are prepared to negotiate." The man tells them, "What could you offer me that I can't take?" We then see Atom Smasher show up telling the police, "Please, my name is Atom Smasher. Let me through. He's my problem." But an officer just tells him, "Stand back." He then says, "Damn it, I'm here to help. Weren't you checking the news? Amanda Waller's Amazo stole everyone's superpowers for a while, and not all of them went back to where they were supposed to. That guy's got my power. I can help." At this point, we realize the Atoms are also with Smasher, both Ray and Choi. Ray gets bigger and tells the officer, "It's true, you're witnessing empirical evidence. That is unless you ordinarily have super strong giant criminals in this neighborhood." At this point, Atom Smasher has had enough talking to the police and says, "Atoms, follow me this way." We see the Atoms brought a device that should put things right. Atom Smasher then uses it on the dude that has his powers, and though it's excruciatingly painful, it works, giving Smasher back his powers. Ray tells Smasher and Choi, "The process still isn't stable, Ryan. This works, but it went no more smoothly than the last 5 attempts." Choi asks, "So what? We start from scratch?" Ray Palmer says, "Not necessarily. If we're going to put all the missing superpowers on the planet back where they belong, we're going to need the help of another Atom." Meanwhile, back at the Watchtower, we see Mr. Terrific talking to Red Tornado and Stargirl, saying, "Wasn't there a Red Inferno?" Tornado responds, "A second android built by my creator. Tomorrow." No connection to this new group. Nowhere in the League files can I find mention of an Inferno matching the super terrorist organization we faced in South Africa. Mr. Terrific tells him 5 mysterious figures describing themselves as the fire that transforms. Transforms what? And capable of deploying billions of dollars worth of equipment and resources in a single go. Stargirl tells Mr. Terrific, "You'll figure it out. I know you. You hate being in the dark." But for right now, all we can do is stay vigilant for another attack. As frustrating as it is, no one here knows anything about this Inferno, as we see Airwave listening in on the conversation outside the room. Yeah, this kid's gonna be real trouble for the Justice League. It's just a matter of who is he working with. Back in Costa Rica, we see Mary and Wonder Woman arrive at the alien eggs. Mary asks Wonder Woman, "Are they dormant or exhausted, you think?" Wonder Woman says, "Either way, we must eliminate this nest as a threat." Mary says, "I could bring down Mad Lightning," but Wonder Woman finishes her sentence saying, "But that endangers the forest." They then say, at the same time, we should carry it into space, as they look at each other awkwardly like they want to say, Jinx, you owe me a Coke. They then use their super strength to quite literally rip the Earth from under the eggs so they can carry it into space. But as they do, a giant parademon starts coming after them and is able to grab Mary, with Wonder Woman saying no, as she can't let go of all the eggs. The comic then takes us to Martian Manhunter and Dr. Occult. Manhunter then says, Dr. Richard Occult, hard-boiled PI specializing in arcane crimes. I've heard of you. Dr. Occult says, game recognizes game, Detective Jones. Yes, I know your dual identity, Jean. Occult continues to say, don't look shocked. I've had my eye on you since the night someone in Middleton, Colorado reported seeing a little green man leaving the lab of a dead scientist. I conducted an astral autopsy. Heart attack. No foul play. A little clairvoyance told me he just accidentally teleported a Martian to Earth. Martian Manhunter then says, Dr. Erdell, he was my first friend here. The shock of success killed him before he could send me home. Why didn't you expose me? You would have made some headlines. Good for business. Occult tells them, I would have had you been a threat, but you took human form and fought crime in secret. A good man. We were on the same team. Hell, you were Superman before there was a Superman. Maybe not quite as strong or fast, but you could do most everything he could and more. I admire that, as Occult continues to look through the cave to find the missing children. Manhunter then looks off like he's troubled, so Occult asks, what did I say? Manhunter tells him that is no longer the case. I've not yet confided this, but you deserve to know why I'm following you rather than vice versa. I was uncomfortable telling the League, in fear of being sidelined, I suppose. But after our powers were stolen, many of mine failed to return. Currently, I have no ocular abilities, and my telepathy is all but silenced. Otherwise, I could have sensed the whereabouts of the captive children. So this is huge. Martian Manhunter has lost several of his abilities, specifically his ocular abilities and his telepathy. The question is, who got his missing abilities? Anyway, Occult then says, you counted on me to take the lead? Well, it's hardly the first time I followed monsters into a cave, and the mystic symbol of the seven is definitely drawing us in one direction. As they stumble upon the kids and a parademon inside of said cave. Occult tells Manhunter, who sees one of them standing guard, can you at least try to get inside his head? Maybe shoo him off or something? He replies, no. He's a parademon. Like all his brethren, he's but a mindless beast. The parademon then looks at him smiling, saying, not really. Elsewhere, we see Mary break free of the parademon with the aid of Black Lightning, who electrocutes it. She then calls down her own lightning. Black Lightning says, 2 bolts are better than 1. Figured you could use an assist. I know you don't love to ask, just like my daughters. She then carries down the stunned parademon, saying, working on it. When she lands, Wonder Woman also comes back down as they're greeted by Batman, Superman, Black Lightning, and Star Sapphire. Batman says, nice work. Town saved too, but we're not done here. Has anyone heard from John or Occult? We are then taken back to Martian Manhunter and Occult. As Manhunter asks, what are you? The parademon answers, different. Born different. On Apocalypse, the first of my kind to be spawned self-aware. Others have been since, but not then. Deemed a perfect candidate to watch over the growing nest, secreted here long ago, should it be needed. Darkseid called it service, I called it exile. Occult asks, and the children? The parademon responds, a bargaining tool, one of Darkseid's underlings. She prepares mortal younglings to be warriors. By providing these as an offering to her, perhaps then Darkseid will allow me to come home. Martian Manhunter tells him, Darkseid is dead. This enrages the parademon, who says, what? No. Distracted by rage, Dr. Occult uses his abilities to free the children and bring them toward him, as he says, it was probably the shockwave of the passing that awakened your nest, which is being dealt with even as we speak. Jean, handle him while I get the kids. The parademon says, no, it's not fair to be torn from your home against your will, imprisoned and abandoned on another planet for years and years. Can you imagine my suffering? Martian Manhunter gets pissed off, saying, how dare you, using your pain to justify the harvesting of children? As he starts beating the ever-loving crap out of the parademon. The parademon is all like, you are clearly not from this planet either. Surely you will agree that human seed spawn are at best a commodity. Martian Manhunter then screams in his face, saying, you are sick of being alone? Does this suit you? As he uses his shape-shifting abilities to turn into a parademon. Jean then tells him, see yourself as I do. You are a monster, as he starts punching him over and over before delivering a death blow. Wonder Woman and Superman arrive, with Wonder Woman throwing her lasso around his arm, stopping Jean. Concerned of how mad he is, she says, Jean? Superman then tells him, it's okay, we're done here. Occult's got the kids and Blue Beetle. Help us imprison these parademons. Then we could talk, because this isn't you. Jean responds, isn't it? As he turns invisible and flies away, saying, I'm sorry, with both Wonder Woman and Superman concerned about what's going on with him. As the heroes leave the cave, Occult tells Superman that Jean confided in him that he was a victim of the power shuffle, which is news to them. A confused Superman is like, why'd he hide it? I'm not sure, but there's clearly more that's going on with Jean, and we need to find him. Something's wrong with our friend, something bad, as we see Jean flying in the snow. And that brings the issue to an end. So now let's jump into issue 3. The issue starts off at the Justice League Watchtower with the Question doing routine checks. She makes her way to the kitchen, where Green Arrow says, evening, Renee. You here because you smelled my chili cooking? She replies, I'm here despite the fact that I smelled it, Arrow. As chief security officer, I've logged it as one of our offensive weapons. Her dog Blue then sniffed out Airwave hiding in one of the walls as we see him munching on cookies and watching Back to the Future. We know he's watching Back to the Future because captions from his phone say, it's your kids, Marty. Something's got to be done about your kids. I love that little Easter egg. The Back to the Future trilogy are some of my favorite movies of all time. They're like comfort movies for me. Anyway, the question opens the door and says, hello, Harold Jordan Levy. Airwave gets startled saying, I wasn't doing anything. I promise. She then says, you were hiding in the walls even though you have your own private quarters. I'm on to you, Airwave. Kiddo, I make routine roster checks, ins and outs, and you haven't left the watchtower for 12 days. Nervous because he's in fact a mole there to kill the Justice League, he says, I can explain. She responds, no need. I know your secret. He then tells her, oh God. She then sits next to him and puts her hand on his shoulder saying, you don't have a home, do you? You were one of those forgotten sidekicks plucked from the timeline that Stargirl saved. Most found old family. You didn't. Yes? He replies, I didn't want anyone to know and treat me like a kid who doesn't deserve to belong anywhere. I'm sorry. Are you gonna kick me out? She says, relax, you're not in trouble. Let us help you with this. Until then, stay as long as you need to. And as far as not deserving goes, I have an idea. Mask up. The comic then shows us that the Amazon has been set on fire. As Red Tornado tells Elongated Man and Mr. Terrific, the perimeter is moving fast. Mr. Terrific, begin analyzing data. While you're doing that, I'm deploying Superman, Star Sapphire, Wonder Woman, Flash, the Captain, Stargirl, and Stripe. Airwave then tells Tornado, questions said that I could help. He tells him there are literally thousands of miles of civilian first responders in action. You'll cultivate communication wherever Wi-Fi is sparse. Airwave, he replies, yes sir. Superman, staring at the fire, says, I found the source of the flames, hundreds of pillars embedded in the soil. We start by removing them. So Superman tries to do that, but realizes it's magic fire and it's hurting his hands. So he has to use his frost breath to cool them down. Wonder Woman then uses her magic lasso to lift one of the pillars out, telling Superman, then join Flash on evacuation measures. Tornado, change of plans. Which sorcerers are available? He says, not enough. Deploying Zatanna, Xanth Shao, and Dr. Occult, but we have additional options. 3 of the metal men, gold, iron, and platinum, are capable of withstanding the temperature of a forest fire. Stargirl and Star Sapphire say, the sigil of Inferno again. It's on the pillars. Stripe asks, who? And Mr. Terrific says overcomes a super terrorist organization. They attacked a mining town in South Africa last week. Now it's this, for whatever reason. The ethereal fire is ringing a bell. Isn't that what wiped out Martian Manhunter's race? Red Tornado replies, not exactly. Plus, Martian Manhunter has disappeared and thus has no insight to lend. Not until the world's greatest detective tracks him down, as we get a panel of Batman searching for Manhunter. The League, while trying to put out the fire, starts talking about what the purpose of all of this is. What is Inferno's endgame with this? Mr. Terrific says, this isn't controlling anything. This is about pure damage. Red Tornado then interjects, that cannot be the sole objective. As Zatanna says, how about we ask them? As she casts a spell to reveal them. One of the Inferno members then says, oh my, look at what the humans have learned to do. Zatanna then says, you will not mock us. We demand you to declare your intentions. Inferno then responds, this region is home to over a third of all unknown plant and animal species. 30 million human lives. If it dies, the spike in global ecology leads to worldwide flooding and hurricanes, famine for billions. Elsewhere, we see the Atoms with Plastic Man, with the device that gives heroes back their powers, because we find out that his powers have swapped with Phantom Girl, and she doesn't know how to use them, so she's been hiding in her apartment because she looks like a hideous melting clay monster. But when Plastic Man and the Atoms arrive, they assure her they're going to fix this by having Plastic Man and Phantom Girl swap powers. So they touch the device and it works, with Plastic Man having his powers back and Phantom Girl having hers. We are then taken back to the Amazon forest where Inferno is telling the Justice League, we have much planned for your world. Conquest is the least of it. We seek domination, yes, but hardly total genocide. Earth's heroes must live to see what doom is planned for the human race. We are the agents of vengeance, which will visit you in many forms. Mr. Terrific asks, vengeance? For what? Tornado, what are they talking about? But before they can get any more information, the magic users lose hold of the Inferno and the portal disappears. But not before Dr. Occult jumps inside the portal saying, I'm not out of questions. Mr. Terrific and Stargirl then realize that the green may be the answer, an elemental force that connects all forms of plant life on Earth and beyond. Mr. Terrific then says, that's what Inferno is doing. They're trying to bend that force to their will. They want to control the green. Airwave, I've alerted Aquaman. Follow his signal and take him to where he needs to go. Aquaman then tells Airwave, Louisiana, now. While flying there, Airwave asks Aquaman to fill him in. Aquaman tells him the green avatar is a being called the Swamp Thing. I shared an adventure with his predecessor years ago. That's right, if you weren't aware, Alec Holland is no longer Swamp Thing. Levi is the new Swamp Thing and Holland's replacement. Anyway, Aquaman says he's not exactly the type to carry a Justice League Unlimited membership card, but if anyone could tear command of the green away from the Inferno, it's him. When Aquaman arrives in the swamp, he's greeted by Swamp Thing, who says, I'm familiar with what's happening. I'm already making efforts to fight. But as Swamp Thing says that, he bursts into flames and turns to ashes as Aquaman and Airwave look on in horror. And with that, the issue ends. Now, a couple of questions stand out right off the bat here. Like, what's going on with this super terrorist group called Inferno? How are they able to control the Green? Because being able to take down Swamp Thing, the avatar of the Green, is just insane. Whoever they are clearly are extremely powerful and a threat unlike the Justice League has ever faced. And it also seems like Martian Manhunter is somewhat linked to this, so I'm curious to see what's going on there. All in all, the Justice League Unlimited title hasn't been mind-blowing or anything, but it's certainly fun, and it's clearly setting up for bigger plot points in the broader All-In story. Anyway, what do you guys think? Are you liking it? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Other than that, we will see you next time when we talk about all things comics.